Well, we're going to get started here. Wow, that was loud. Good morning. Welcome to our August downtown download. We're not live streaming just yet. They're having some technical difficulties, but they'll post this video once they can figure all that out. My name is Lieutenant Bill Offelt. I'm with our Specialized Services Unit at the Fargo Police Department, and that unit encompasses a lot of different functions at our agency, but the one function that we'll be talking about today is our patrol of downtown, or our downtown resource officers, and our outreach and partnership with a lot of our downtown businesses and our downtown community. And so doing this just to give a little update on where we're at with our downtown, some of the crimes, some of the initiatives that we've been taking throughout this summer, starting spring into this summer, and where we're planning on going here into the fall. There'll be time for public comment here. As a matter of fact, if you have a question or whatever during my presentation, just go ahead and raise your hand, and Anders or Paul will bring the blue block microphone to you guys, and we'll be able to hopefully answer some of your questions. It's a 2-minute, 30-second time limit on public speaking for this, just so we give everybody a chance to speak if need be. And so we'll go ahead and get started. We moved this download. It was originally going to be 2 weeks ago. Well, we moved this just mainly because I was so busy I didn't have time to prepare. And so now I had time to prepare and put a little bit of a presentation together on what we're doing. And so what we'll talk about today is our downtown substation update. There's a couple things that we've been kind of hitting on all summer, projects that we've been working on. Our substation is certainly one of those. Our downtown pedestrian loading zone or pickup zone project is in full swing, and I want to give an update on that. We had a planned directed patrol event on August 20th in our downtown area at bar close or right around bar close, and we'll give a little bit of a brief on that. And just some very basic crime data on where we've been in the last month or so for downtown. And so our substation, I put some new pictures up there. It's going to be in our Mercantile building right at 4th Avenue, and or in the Mercantile building right at 4th Avenue and Broadway. A good location in the downtown area. Just a little bit of an update. You can see the pictures on the bottom. There's studs going up, there's sheetrock going up, and it looks like I'm hoping, I don't want to jinx this, but I'm hoping that our anticipated completion of fall of 2022 is going to be a thing, and looking forward to getting in there. This station will not only increase our presence in the downtown area, but give us a good base of operations to keep equipment, allow officers to take breaks, not have to travel all the way to our station to use the restroom or have a quick lunch break. And it'll also allow us to have meetings in the downtown area at one of our facilities as opposed to going to everyone else's. So really looking forward to getting this project completed. There'll be window signage that is going to look pretty neat, and when it's all done, it's going to be a really good product, and excited to see it completed. Parking project. This went into effect August 18th. 4 of our 5 designated pickup areas for not only cabs or cab stands, but rideshare are now in place and operating. We've been getting good feedback from our community and our rideshare drivers. For the majority of the messages are positive. They're saying that it's providing a good place to pick people up quickly, and that people are using them. The one area that's been a little bit difficult has been our 600 block of NP Avenue location, right by a sports bar, right by the old Broadway. People are still parking during the restricted time frame. When we opened this up and said we were going to be doing this, we talked about education, and we're still continuing an educational piece throughout this week. But if that does not improve, we'll be doing a public outreach saying, hey, we're going to start taking enforcement to include towing vehicles out of these areas so that rideshare can start using them. Both Lyft and Uber are now geofenced to go to these locations. So the rideshare vehicles are showing up. They're picking people up. But I went out on August 20th to see how things were moving late at night. And that NP Avenue location, the rideshare vehicles are having to double park in the eastbound lane because people were parked in that area. So we have a large sign in that area now. It's the only one causing us difficulties. That's blinking and flashing and saying, hey, you can't park here from this time to this time on this date and this date. A reminder, it's Thursday night through Saturday evening into early Sunday morning, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. We cannot park in those areas, and that parking ordinance is in effect to aid with picking people up. It's an effort to try to stop congestion on the streets due to rideshare pickup, and it's also an effort to try to disperse crowds outside of our local bars at bar close, just to make that environment a little bit more safe. Still encouraging public feedback on this. If there's something that you see we could do better, if you think we could use more of these or less, we want to hear that. A response to our Facebook post or even a phone call or an email to me would be just fine. This is all things that I went through already. I got in front of myself already on this. Looking at a little bit of data, continued to see the same day of week and time of day data. Basically, our calls for service are the highest on Saturday and Sunday mornings, basically Friday and Saturday night, 12 p.m. To 2 a.m. And when we're seeing a lot of the more violent crime that we've seen in the last couple of weeks here in our downtown area, that is the time frame that has been occurring also. And so we've been focusing our efforts for added patrols and extra officers in the downtown area during that time frame, along with trying to keep up some of our daytime efforts in the downtown area, reaching out to some of our partners and businesses, and also working with the homeless population. Just a quick rundown of what we've had in the last month. We've had 1 shooting, 1 homicide, 7 aggravated assaults, which is down 5 from the last month. All of those are around that bar close time and are bar related. We've had 0 criminal mischiefs, and really by that we mean destruction of property that's been reported, any type of vandalism, really to include graffiti, none reported. We've had 1 burglary, which was on July 30th, and there's something significant about that I'll talk about at the end here. But this burglary was one of the same types that we've been seeing over the last few months in our downtown area, where a bike was taken from an underground parking garage. If you remember, we identified a suspect on that. Our simple assaults are down by 2, and we've had 3 robberies, looking at a little bit of a trend. One of these was in the homeless community. A couple other we're looking to see. There's some suspicious circumstances, which it appears as if maybe the individual knew the other individuals, so it's not like this is a stranger robbing a stranger, from what it appears. And then our thefts are down by 3. So even though there have been a lot of high-profile incidents in our downtown area in the last month, the crimes that we've been tracking are slightly starting to go down. And that's not only due to efforts by law enforcement, but we see that trend start to go down as we move into the fall, and as students start to move into the city of Fargo for college. Crime starts to go down in our downtown area statistically for many years. So we're going to start to see that downward trend as we move into the fall. What we did, and this was a plan, not only, this was a plan that was in place for about a month, starting in June. And it was a multi-agency plan to have added law enforcement in our downtown area, and it actually happened at the right time, just after all of these, some of these violent crimes had occurred in the city. This was a directed enforcement event. And so really what a directed enforcement is we're looking at data, we're looking at individuals, we're looking at when is crime happening in a specific area, and we're directing planned law enforcement operation in that area. This one, we brought in some of our law enforcement partners in North Dakota Highway Patrol and Cass County Sheriff's Office, along with the Fargo Police Department. We brought in some of their canine units, and we had roughly 15 officers in the downtown area on the evening of August 20th into the morning of the 21st. And we directed our enforcement into the downtown area, basically the downtown business district. It started with traffic enforcement and moved into foot patrols in the downtown area. The main focus of our foot patrols were in the from Main Avenue on Broadway all the way into the 300 block of Broadway, which is where we're seeing a lot of our activity in those late night hours and early morning hours. That night we made 3 arrests, 7 citations, 2 of those for marijuana possession, 28 community contacts. There were 35 warnings on minor violations given, and there were 3 case reports generated. So really a lot of good community contacts in that directed plan enforcement. We're going to be doing more of these throughout the fall and into early winter. And so you'll be seeing those as we move into the end of the year and the last quarter of this year in our downtown area. Also looking at just adding some overtime patrol shifts at those nighttime hours and early morning hours on the weekends as we move into the area just with Fargo officers. So this was a successful enforcement operation, in my opinion. A lot of good community contacts, a lot of people coming up and saying, man, we're glad to see everybody down here. And there were a few times where I was standing at MP Avenue and Broadway, and there was law enforcement every direction I looked. And so I think that was a good thing. Also identified a few things that I didn't know were going on in the evening and early morning hours that we're going to address, especially with loud noise, not just from what we've heard in the past few meetings with our buskers, but some local bars and actual vehicle noise that is extremely loud in our downtown area in the morning hours, early morning hours. So putting together a plan to deal with that. Homelessness, harm reduction, another thing that we touch on every meeting. We're doing our continued partnership with our Downtown Quality of Life Committee. And, you know, the last meeting that we had at the beginning of this month is really identified that we're all going to work together as a group to try to identify or solve a few issues that we see with homelessness and how we address that. And it's a community, a group effort. And so we're going to continue to work on that. The initiative to not only clean up river camps, but also find housing for individuals that are utilizing river camps, partnership with parks and our engagement center and MOP continues. And actually, even as we speak, there's an outreach going on right now. We've been hearing a lot about our NP Avenue bridge and the bike path and people seeing homeless camps under that bridge. And right now they're doing outreach to individuals under there, cleaning that up and making sure that the individuals under there provided services or at least offered services for some help to try to get them off the street and get them into housing where it's a little bit more safe. So we're going to continue to do that throughout the fall. What really got my attention last winter is that there were individuals still camping in December. And I've been at this agency almost 21 years, and I've seen individuals, homeless individuals, freeze to death, sleeping in the elements. And so I wanted to make sure that the resources that were available were brought to the people that needed them. Not that they already weren't there, but wanted to make sure that we worked in partnership and pointed some of these places out. And also make sure that there weren't homeless camps and the rubbish that is sometimes generated from those very close to our walking paths where individuals are walking and seeing some of this. So it's a success, in my opinion, this year, and we're going to continue with that throughout this year and into next year as we work towards this community effort to try to solve some of these homelessness issues that we're dealing with. I had posted Clarence Charbonneau's picture at our last meeting. He was the individual identified in not only doing numerous bike thefts in our downtown area, but also committing some of these burglaries in our underground garages at some of our downtown apartments. He was arrested on the 5th of August in Moorhead. He was living in Moorhead, and we were able to work with Moorhead Police Department to get him into custody, arrested on multiple burglaries, not only in downtown Fargo, but around the city. If you'll notice, our last burglary in our downtown area of this type was on July 30th, and Clarence was arrested on August 5th, and we haven't had one since. So a good example of intelligence-led policing where we've identified a suspect and multiple crimes that he was committing, and we were able to target that suspect and take them into custody, stopping victimization in the downtown area. So I wanted to end on that note. We continue to do this not only throughout the city of Fargo, but in the downtown area. And we'll do these directed patrols, but where we really get the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak, is when we identify the specific individuals that are victimizing people and creating crime and get them into jail and bring them to justice. So We'll continue to do the same as we move into the fall with identified individuals. That is it. 18 minutes. Any questions from the public? We'll bring the magical blue block of communication to you if you have one. I answered all of the questions today. Wonderful. Oh, here we go. I knew when I said the challenge would be met. Yes, sir.
I just have a question on the terms that you were presenting. I don't know the difference between burglary and robbery. I don't know when you say community contacts.
Sure. So burglary is when someone enters into another person's property, a dwelling, a structure, with the intent to commit a crime. And so in this case, in this burglary in particular, someone entered a structure being an underground garage that was under an apartment building where people park their cars and leave their bikes, and they entered that with the intent to commit a crime, that being stealing a bike. And so a burglary is a Class B felony, a C felony or a B felony, depending upon some of the circumstances of that burglary. And so that is a burglary. A robbery is when someone either threatens physical force, uses physical force, or uses a weapon to commit a crime against someone else or take something from someone else. So a lot of times people mix the two terms and they say, my house got robbed. Well, actually, your house didn't get robbed. Your house was burglarized, and maybe you were robbed. I haven't seen this recently, but maybe you were robbed within your house. It's two separate things. Your house was burglarized if someone broke into it. If you're walking down the street and someone threatens physical violence and says, give me your wallet, that would be a robbery. And then, I'm sorry, what was the other? Community contacts,
yes.
I think. Community contact is basically we see something suspicious on the street, or maybe even in a vehicle, and we're able to pull that vehicle over based on reasonable suspicion, or we're able to stop that person on the street based on some type of factor that we saw, and we've made a contact with that individual. Sometimes that doesn't lead to an arrest or a citation. It might just lead to us contacting them. We ask some questions. We see if we can maybe do a criminal interdiction if we find something suspicious, and then we move along. And so those contacts are actually very important. If we see something that just doesn't make sense, or we see someone that we want to talk to, maybe we see them coming from a dark alley, a backyard, and we talk to them, see where they're going, what they were doing back there. We're able to identify them. And a lot of times these community contacts are used in the future. Maybe a crime was committed that we didn't know about. We'll call out on our radio that we were with this person, and a week later detectives are seeing that there was a burglary in that neighborhood, and they see what kind of law enforcement activity there was, and they say, oh, we had a community contact with the person here, and that person matches the description of the person we saw on a camera leaving a building. So it's an important part of police work, and investigative police work, and actually beat cop work when you're out walking around and looking to not only interdict crime, but prevent crime. Did that answer your question, sir?
No.
All right, and I think we had a question over here.
Yeah. I was just curious about the structural extent that the police department goes. For instance, West Fargo, do you extend your patrols and everything into West Fargo, or likewise, do you share responsibilities with some things with Moorhead? That's all. I was just curious about who's taking care of, which areas.
Definitely. So the city of Fargo is actually, the geographic city of Fargo is split into districts right now and beats. And officers are assigned to those beats within those districts, and those officers patrol in their assigned beats. Now, they might leave one beat to go help another officer in a geographical beat. So, for example, downtown is beat 14. It's a very small beat because we have a large volume of people that are down here, and our calls for service, even though in a small geographic area, are similar to a larger beat, which is heavily populated out west. And so We look at calls for service. We look at how many people live in geographical areas, and that determines the size of the beat and how many officers are in it. And so that's how geographically the city is broken up and how we patrol. We will go and assist in other jurisdictions like West Fargo or Cass County if asked. Sometimes investigations that we start might cross those geographic boundaries into other jurisdictions or other cities, where we might contact them and say, I have a suspect for a burglary that lives in your city. I'm going to come over and interview them. Would you please help? Would you come with us and assist us with that? The same goes for Moorhead. If they need help from us, they can request that. It's called mutual aid. We can do the same from any of those jurisdictions. And so for our directed plan enforcement that we had, I contacted two of our North Dakota agencies, and I said, hey, would you mind helping us with one of these? I'd like a lot of officers in one area to show presence and do a saturation or interdict in some criminal activity. And they were able to come help us because we asked for that mutual aid. We extended that offer. And so Fargo officers won't just patrol into West Fargo and take calls for service, but if they're asked to come there, or if they have a reason to be there for investigation, they'll call and say we're coming over and we'll work together in partnership. It would be the same in Cass County. It would be the same in the city of Moorhead. Does that answer your question, sir?
So there's three pretty much designated districts then, beats, if you want to call it that. West Fargo, Fargo, and Moorhead are the three beats.
West Fargo is a city entity all of its own. Moorhead is a city entity all of its own, and Fargo is a city entity all of its own. And each one of those jurisdictions has their own police department. So West Fargo Police Department, Fargo Police Department, Moorhead Police Department. I happen to know a little bit about the geographical, how they structure their geographical response in all of the cities. And all of us have a district structure, which is a large geographical area. Like the city of Fargo right now has 2 districts, north and south. That will soon be changing. We're going to redistrict. And then we have smaller geographical areas within the district called beats. Officers are assigned to those beats. And so city of Fargo officers are going to stay within their city jurisdiction mainly, and they're going to take calls for service within their city jurisdiction, and they'll use beats to do that. Moorhead Police Department has their own geographical structure. They'll stay within their city jurisdiction, and so will West Fargo. But let's say there's a large event like a large shooting on the west side of town. West Fargo, we might ask for their assistance if we need a lot of officers for traffic control and things like that. We'll ask them to come over, and they will do that under what's called mutual aid. The same thing can happen with the city of Moorhead or even NDSU Police Department that's in our city. And so for the most part, day-to-day operations, officers stay within the city that they work, but they can be called into other jurisdictions under special circumstances if need be. Anything else? All right, well, what we're going to be doing, yes, sir.
Your comment regarding the noise and things, and I see national news and the car racing and things like this. It seems like it's trending, if you will, in the Fargo-Moorhead area. I was interested in your comments regarding the vehicle noise and just that, and it seems like it's somewhat of a precursor to the racing. And I would sure encourage to see the police department continue to discourage all that stuff, because it's, again, national news last night, several reports, people, car accidents, people getting killed, and it's very dangerous, the next step up from just out to making noise. So I would, any follow-up to that would be appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be looking into, without giving up too much tactical information, downtown is a different area to do traffic enforcement because it's such a small area and the roads are so narrow. And so when the roads are very busy and you do traffic enforcement down there, you have to do it in a different way than you might do it on a roadway that's very large. And so looking at putting together some type of operation where we can enforce some of our loud engine vehicle noise violations a little bit more easy but it's going to take a group effort like what we had the other night to do here in the beginning. I really think what we're running into, not only in the downtown area with traffic, but also just in the city of Fargo, is there are more people than what we have ever seen, and there's more traffic than what we've ever seen. And as for trends nationwide on racing or vehicle racing, I'm not sure on that. I know in my lifetime I've seen all kinds of people racing, not only in my pre-law enforcement days, but also since I've been an officer. I think that we just have a lot more people that are doing more of it than we have in the past, and it's very noticeable. So definitely something that we're not missing, we're seeing, and we're going to be responding to. You've seen that response within the city of Fargo throughout the summer, and I think that's been very successful. But you're going to soon, this fall, see a response in our downtown area, enforcing some of that loud engine noise, especially motorcycles. The one geographical factor, or the one factor in our downtown area that really enhances that noise, is the size of the buildings. And when I think people purposely are coming down there and driving in the 200, 300, and 400 blocks and ripping their engines really loud because it sounds really loud and it echoes and it reverberates. And that's a trend that I'm looking to stop fairly quickly here. Anything else? All right. This is actually our last summer downtown download meeting. What we're going to be doing is the next meeting will be in November, unless we decide to call some type of a meeting for some specific reason prior to that, and we would post that on social media and advertise that. In November, I'm planning on having a recap of the year, talk about some of the stuff that we've done throughout the year. I'm hoping that our substation will be complete and we can show some pictures of that and talk about how we're using that a little bit. And as always, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to contact me through email or phone call, or you can reach out to those social media posts that we've been putting on. We'll be sticking around here for the rest of for a couple minutes after the meeting, and then actually we're going to go out and check up on that engagement effort down by MP Avenue Bridge and in some of the areas around the river to see how that's going. So appreciate you all being here this morning. Thank you.